Yeah.
Oh shit! Wow, I can't believe we got it.
Yeah, you finally got it. You dinosaur. You
Yeah,
finally
man, I'm coming
you,
along.
you got it now. You got it.
Yeah, you know where there's a will, there's a way. I had so much fun on this fucking channel for the first year that I'm learning the tech stuff because I want it so bad. Like I'll just do shit on my own for a
I
couple
might
hours.
have to call you, I might have to call you Bill Gates from now on or Steve Jobs.
Oh man. Hey, listen, I got a couple things written down here, and I'm glad I got you. I want to go over this, right?
Okay.
Now, in fantasy football, right? Is it I know it's hard to form trends after 1 week and even after two. Because look how many seasons we've seen where a team was 0-2, like our Giants won the Super Bowl. But like, okay, let's start baby steps. In fantasy football, is it time to bench Tom Brady and or Aaron Rodgers? They're playing against each other. If you're a guy in a league and you got all these quarterbacks, I know the name recognition is so heavy, but can you still play Rodgers and Brady right now the way it's going?
I think it's a tough play because neither of them have weapons right now. Neither of them have the full arsenal. Yeah, they have the name to them where they're the legends. They've solidified themselves as just must plays throughout the fantasy years. But I feel as tides are changing now, the must plays are Allen, Mahomes, Herbert instead
Right,
of Rodgers and Brady.
right.
The tides are changing of the must plays.
Who would have thought after 2 weeks that Tua and Carson Wentz would be the NFL's passing leaders and be tied with 14 total touchdown passes? They got 7 touchdown passes each after 2 games. Tua's got 740 yards. Wentz has 650. You know who's number 3 in the whole NFL in passing yards? You would never guess it because it's not one of the elite quarterbacks. Joe Flacco. Joe
What do
Flacco
you
is ahead of Josh Allen, Herbert, and Mahomes right now in passing
What do
yards.
you mean? Flacco's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He's elite.
Yeah, 10 years ago, definitely. Oh, I did a piece
Oh,
speaking about,
if you told me that before the beginning of the year that those were the top three passing leaders, I would have
yeah.
looked at you for crazy.
That's why, like, we all have to remember that even week 1 is definitely not anything enough to have a trend. So it's like, okay, now 2 weeks, we're seeing a little bit, but we still have to keep our antennas up. Like is Minnesota as bad as they looked the other night? Probably not.
No,
Is Philly going to be as dominant as the other night and go 17-0? Probably not. So we're going to see Minnesota beat the doors off somebody after just looking like shit, and we're going to see Philly lay a flat game. That's how the NFL's been.
that's how the NFL works. And again, you got to look at who's played who so far. Like
Right.
I give Giants credit, like they are 2-0, but
Super
they
Bowl?
did. No, listen, let's pump the brakes here. We beat Baker in Carolina, and then we beat I don't know what's going on in Tennessee team right now. Those are the two teams we squeaked by right
Wasn't
now.
it
Okay,
nice that
like
we actually won a close one or two? Like we always lose them the last couple years.
always,
The
always,
last
but
couple years, the Philly kicker with that 61 fucking yarder at the end, we've been losing those games for 2 years. It's so nice to see us 2-0, though.
but that's why we have to take trends out, and that's why you have to
Right.
look at Minnesota. Minnesota isn't as bad as people are saying now. They beat up Green Bay week 1. Let's not forget that. They beat the doors off them. Yeah,
Yeah.
did they kind of lay a dud against the Eagles? But that's a good Eagles team. I still consider the Vikings a top 10 team, top
Me
15
too. Me
league,
too.
and in the NFC. I'm not just throwing them out the
No.
window. Done. And I don't like that everyone's just throwing the Eagles up top just because they beat Minnesota,
Right.
but they almost lost to the Lions week
That
1.
was
So
like my
people not
point. You can't go too far either direction when you see
yeah,
one game like that.
segments like the past 2 days. Are the Bills going to play the Eagles in the Super Bowl? What?
Hey,
What?
great segue. I got a couple winless teams for you. Worried or not worried? You ready? Cincinnati 0-2. Worried or not worried? Are you worried? What do you think about them? I'd like to know.
I'm
And then I'll tell
a,
you what I think.
I'm a little worried because they can't protect Joe Burrow. They were
Thank
supposed
you.
They were supposed to address the offensive line this offseason, which they supposedly did. But the last 2 weeks, the only thing I've seen is Joe Burrow on the ground running for his life.
You just summarized everything that was in my brain that I was thinking. I agree 100%. Listen, he's been sacked 3 times or more in like 8 or 9 consecutive games, which is like a
You
record.
can't win like that. The fact that you make a ball like that is ridiculous, let alone it's not a winning recipe.
Right. Now, here's where I'm worried also with Cincinnati. It's the sacks, but like he got sacked 9 times and they still won that game and went to the Super Bowl. And they made it a big story, but that's highly alarming. Like he went to the Super Bowl in spite of being sacked 9 times in that championship game. Then he got hit around the Super Bowl, and now it started again. So I think Cincinnati could go right back to just being a team that went to the Super Bowl and they're mediocre now again. Like just like the Falcons did a couple of years ago. You know those teams that they get to the Super Bowl and go right back to mediocre?
That's a good comparison. Is the Falcons, that team that they had their chance, they caught fire at the right time. I mean, the Bengals did also the whole way to the Super Bowl get every freaking bounce and every call, and the ball was just going their way at that time, and everything was just clicking. And like we said, if they can't protect Joe Burrow, you ain't gonna win anything.
Right. Yeah, Joe Burrow's got to be protected.
Yeah. So I mean, so now for the 0-2 Bengals, we are worried.
I'm worried.
Right,
now, here's another team that I'm not sure because I was high on them before the season. The Raiders are 0-2. Worried or not worried?
Well, I would say, see, we have to look at who they've played the 2 weeks. They played a really good Chargers team. They took it to the brim. They almost won. So we'll say that's a divisional wash.
And that Cardinals game was a funny game.
The only thing that is alarming is last week they blew a huge lead to the Cardinals. And
that was a weird game.
Weapons, and the Cardinals haven't really impressed me. When I saw the Raiders were winning that game, I thought the Raiders were going to win that game. So I said, okay, Raiders are the Raiders. And then after they blew that lead and everything ended up happening, it's making me a little worried. A little worried.
I have a cautionary tale for all Sunday gamblers. When you're winning, I was winning already on Sunday. I had nice picks in the early games. I got a little greedy. And when you get greedy and you try to add a little more change to what's coming up at night, the Raiders were winning by a lot. And I was trying to like put a few things together that I knew was going to happen, like already when the games were going. So I hit the Raiders to hang on, and it was Dallas to upset Cincinnati, and the Raiders ended up blowing it because I got greedy. Why even throw the Raiders on when they're up 14? I already had them. Like, it was stupid. I got greedy with that. Hey, guess how many home underdogs there are this week? I just counted.
How many?
8. 8 home dogs. 8. That's it just goes to show you the parity in the NFL. You know why I'm holding Monday's newspaper right here? I got the post from Monday because I'm curious to see what goes on Sunday morning with the lines. I wanted to talk to the people listening about the middles, how we were talking. We could have caught the middle last week. We would have caught the middle. Wait, what was the score last week?
Of
Giants
what?
won by 3.
Yeah, the Giants won by 3.
Last
and the line
week was
half.
The line opened at 3.5. So say you bet $100 on Carolina plus 3.5 the day it opens. Now, this is when a line swings 3 or 4 or more. So now the line moved all the way. 10 minutes before kickoff, the Giants were plus a half. The Giants became the underdog. So if you had both, if you waited and played the middle, you would have had Carolina plus the 3.5 winner, and then you would have the Giants plus the half winner, and you catch the middle. Now, this week, Dallas, the Giants opened up at 3.5 right now. New York Post, I'm looking at it. Monday, Giants 3.5 favorite. Would you be able to check and tell me what the line is right now? Because I did it just in case. I put $20 on the Cowboys plus the 3.5 because I'm thinking everybody's going to bet Dallas. It's going to come back around. I'm going to try to catch the middle. So I'm going to take a shot.
I'll look at it right now.
If it's down to 1 or 1.5 already, that game might be a pick 'em by the time it goes off. So you take Dallas early plus the points, then you take the Giants plus a point or plus a half a point, and you play the middle. You either
The
break
Giants
even.
are only a 1-point favorite now.
One right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so right now, here's my thing. I have Dallas plus 3.5. Now I'm gonna wait because it's probably gonna go further. But if it were to stop right now,
The
I would have
Giants
the Giants plus 1. So if it fell on 2 or 3, I would win both. Like if the Giants won by 2, I would cover with the Dallas plus the 3.5, and I'd cover with the Giants with the 1. You know,
I mean, it might get to a point where if the Giants become an underdog,
if the
you might be
Giants
able.
become a 1-point dog, then that's what you hope to do the middles for. That's why you bet middles,
That's
like
why you bet
like a
middles.
4 or 5-point swing. You know,
I wouldn't be surprised. Today is Thursday. I wouldn't be surprised by Monday morning if the Giants were legit. Like it's a legit pick 'em.
oh, the game's Monday night. I forgot about that. We got an extra day, and you know the whole country's fucking
The
Dallas.
whole country is going to be betting Dallas on Monday. Now, I'm not saying. I mean, we're Giants fans, so obviously we'd be a little towards the Giants. I really don't know who's going to win in that game. That game to me is a toss up because
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised in that game if I see Danny Dimes running for his life for Mika Parsons all night.
Yeah.
But also, I wouldn't be surprised if somehow miraculously the Giants pull something out. You know, like
Right.
it's Cooper Rush and Dallas. That game to me is really a coin flip.
It is. It is. That I don't know who's gonna win. Like as a Giants fan, I'm hoping that we're 3. If we could go to 3-0, I would be so shocked. As a Giants fan, I'm gonna tell you what I like. I like how Saquon looks. I'd rather have Saquon Barkley right now than Ezekiel Elliott any day of the week. Saquon is a beast. He looks good. I like the coach. For some reason, I get a good vibe off our coach. I like him.
I like that.
I just think that Danny Dimes is the only guy that I looked at a couple times this year already and said, "Geez, maybe this guy is never going to be our guy." But I like how the coach held him accountable and got in his ass. I saw him rip into Danny Dimes a couple times already because he does that dumb shit. You got to get on him. But
yeah, he just becomes fumble. He's just become
the Giants could easily be 3-0. Easily be 3-0.
I know.
So we got so now the Giants are a home. They're gonna end up being a home dog. That line's gonna I bet you the Giants are getting a 0.5 point by Monday night. I bet you.
I bet so too.
What do you now a couple games in week 3? Like these games are hard. Pittsburgh is plus 3.5 at Cleveland. Cleveland just blew a game to the Jets, and we just saw Pittsburgh beat Cincy in the opener. Why is Cleveland 3.5? I don't know. I don't get that. I think
that's a game where I don't like tonight for Thursday night. That's a game where I don't bet on poop. Okay, I don't bet on. It's a shit game. All right, listen. Jacoby Brissett as the Cleveland quarterback. I'm not putting my money and my chips into Jacoby Brissett. No. And then also, are you going to put your chips on Mitch Trubisky? I just saw before you got Steelers fans already calling for Kenny Pickett.
I know.
So you don't know who could be the starting quarterback.
And they're 1-1. And they're 1-1. Right?
I would say this: the only thing I would put my chips on might be the Steelers defense, but then again, you don't have TJ Watt.
You know what I was gonna say? I thought you were gonna say, like say in the same game parlay realm, Nick Chubb, because he's so consistent. Like, do you think I have a question for you? Do you think that we all kind of maybe underestimated Nick Chubb universally throughout our drafts? Because 2 years ago he was in the top 10 in picks because everybody thought Cleveland was gonna be a powerhouse. He was the number 1. He really didn't do anything to show that he wasn't a real good back last year because I had him. He was good. And this year he went in the 20s. Do you think we all slept on Chubb considering he's got 228 yards after his first 2 games already?
Yes and no. Because I think that we all knew before last year, we all thought that Nick Chubb was the clear-cut number 1. Right. Then we saw that it kind of is a 1A, 1B. Where Nick Chubb isn't catching the passes. It's Kareem Hunt. Right. So that's what kind of got worried some. It's not that everyone knew Nick Chubb was a good back, but it just wasn't that second pick at the draft. It wasn't that second pick. And I will say this is Nick Chubb, he's consistent. He's going to be a great running back for you. He's going to put up fantasy points.
Volume, too.
Volume, but I mean, last week he did win you a week with 3 TDs. So then my statement was, can he win you a week? He
Right.
can win a week.
Right.
You know,
That's why like running backs
I
are
like
so
to
tricky.
pick players. I like to pick players that I think that can win me a week.
Yeah.
Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, Saquon Barkley. Those guys can have a week where they win you your fantasy week.
Hey,
I couldn't say that about Nick Chubb, but now, I mean, he did get the 3 TDs and this and that. I would have to say yes, maybe a little. We might have slept on Nick.
Nick Chubb might be one of those few players that he's so good at his position that it overrides how the team is. Like how when Barry Sanders played for the Lions, he was always going to do his thing because he was Barry Sanders. Like Nick Chubb, the way he's looked the first 2 games, it shows me that like they're running off his back, that team. Like he's
offensive line. Back. And I'll tell you this, the Browns are going to be a team that could be worrisome if Deshaun Watson comes back and can beat Deshaun Watson. If they don't, if defenses have to respect Deshaun Watson and play the pass and can't stack the box anymore against Nick Chubb, now all of a sudden you got Chubb running free, you got Watson able to throw it around. I mean,
imagine if they're in a playoff race later on, they could be a dangerous team.
If they stay in it, that would be a nice team later, or even now to take a shot. If they fall to 1-2, 1-3, that would be a nice team to take a little shot on to make the playoffs, because if they can stay 500, Deshaun Watson gets off, they might be able to sneak in.
Well, think about this. Tonight's game, think of that division. Tonight's game is for first place. Think. Cleveland's playing Pittsburgh. Who else is in the division? Baltimore and who?
Cincy.
Right. Tonight's for first place. All 4 of those teams have a loss already or are struggling a little bit. So Cleveland might be in the race going forward.
Ready for this? That division is a lot of question marks. Pittsburgh is in quarterback mayhem. Who knows? And who knows what's going on with TJ Watt. Baltimore, Lamar has barely any weapons, and also their defense is in shambles.
Right.
Okay. Cincinnati can't protect Joe Burrow. He keeps getting sacked all the time. Right. And then they're losing tight games because of it. And then that leaves the Browns, who might be the most complete team when Deshaun Watson comes back.
You just sliced and diced that entire division. I could see them from that perspective. I could see them hanging around and being a threat later on for sure.
Yes, they're a team that I'm going to keep my eye on that might catch fire. And it's about catching fire at the right time. It's not about starting the season off 8-1 and then struggling down the stretch. It's about week 13, 14, 15 starting to catch your groove.
Right. Because like a season, like a team always grows. And then that's why Rodgers years ago, the RELAX, like teams grow and form their identity. You almost know certain teams that's going to happen with. You expect it with Green Bay. You expect it with Tampa Bay. But before I forget, you know how we were talking about winning games with a guy in fantasy? Now that the draft is over, this is the main reason why I stayed away from Henry. After 2 games so far this year, he's got 0 catches. 0. As good of a running back as he is, they never throw to him at all. That's a big hindrance if you have him and you got him in the first round.
I'm gonna tell you this, as we were talking, I'm worried.
The guy's got 0
I'm a Derrick Henry owner. I'm worried.
Yeah. How could they not throw him a couple screens in this day and age? Even screens.
And again, who's Tannehill throwing the ball to right now? He's got
now they're shaky.
Like the Giants defense made that offense like look bad. I know they played the Bills, and I get that. That's probably even made it worse. And that's why we kind of have to pump the brakes a little on the I give them the week 1 against
see more matchups to really get a feel.
Yeah, they need a more of an even matchup for me to get a feel on who Tennessee is as a team. But as a fantasy owner for Derrick Henry, I'm a little worried. Right now, through the first 2 weeks, if I'm playing defense against Tennessee offense, I'm just stacking the box, and I'm just going to say, I'm not going to let Derrick Henry beat me. Let's see what you got.
Because right now, you went and got Robert Woods, and you brought him in to be the number 1. So Robert Woods has to, he didn't tear his ACL in like when Godwin did in December. He did it early. Robert Woods is like full go. He needs to get going. And the rookie Treylon Burks. Treylon Burks has to become something. Now he's projected a little bit higher than he was week 1. He's projected in the like around 11 now. Maybe they're expecting him to come on a little bit. He's had a couple catches, but the The rookie
I,
receivers are not bad. There's a lot of good rookie receivers.
I know. And then also is the big question was why didn't Tennessee give the bag to AJ Brown? I mean, now you're looking at AJ Brown in an Eagles uniform. I mean, he looks like the biggest mother effer out there running around in the secondary right now. If I'm the Titans, I'm sort of missing AJ Brown running around out. You know?
Yeah, and they're perfect compliments. The skinny guy that won the Heisman, nobody talks about his size anymore. He can just wiggle around and do his thing because they gotta bracket AJ Brown, Devontae Smith.
Yeah, I know.
Philly's good, man. I'll tell you another guy after Nick Chubb. This guy is my new favorite guy out of nowhere. I don't know where he came from, but at the last 5 weeks and the first couple this week, he's the only player in NFL history to catch 8 or more balls in 7 consecutive games. It's like Antonio Brown, him, and Ramanudo St. Brown. Did we all sleep on Ramanudo St. Brown a little bit in the draft? Is this kid a star? And is the fucking Lions-Vikings game going to be a shootout? Like, if you would have told me that's going to be a shootout in August, I'd be like, yeah, okay. Like Detroit looks kind of good.
I think what's happening in Detroit too is I think we did kind of maybe sleep on St. Brown because again, we all have that stigma of the Lions offense. Like, who the heck are the Lions?
Yeah.
I mean, we Amon-Ra St. Brown come on towards the end of the year. He literally won people fantasy championships.
Yes.
Like, okay, who is he? He fell in those middle rounds. I mean, I think we did maybe undervalue him a little bit, but I do think the Lions are doing very good. Is they do have one of the best offensive lines in the league, and it's showing. Jared Goff is just in the back of the hanging out all day.
And doesn't he have his biggest weapon still coming? Didn't they draft the receiver from Alabama?
Yes, he's supposedly the best receiver. This guy, he's supposedly the best receiver in the draft. He was a clear-cut top 5, top 10 pick going in before he tore his Achilles or whatever he tore in the championship game.
Hey, you see these double birds? That's for fucking, who is it, Zoltan? The Garrett Wilson? Zoltan, are you watching? Hey, that's what makes the what is it called? The fob? That's what makes it really fun. Because I thought I had Garrett Wilson locked. He was on the waivers, and I put like $15 or $16 on him, and I didn't think anybody was gonna go in. He beat me good on it. Did you put a waiver on him or no?
Did I?
Yeah.
I put $1 on him because I was like, I don't know, whatever. I didn't know everyone was gonna go that hard on him because again, I think Wilson he's a rookie stud. He's had 2 good weeks.
Flacco up and down
all right now, but what's going to happen when Wilson starts coming back? What if the targets start changing and things? I mean, like, my only concern was, I wouldn't mind having him on my team. That's $1 to a couple dollars, but I don't know if I would go out and waste, that much of my fab, all of it. Someone that would be on my radar. And again, who knows with these rookie wide receivers these days? All of a sudden, these kids are coming in.
There's another one I wanted to just move over to Atlanta real quick. Drake London is starting off his career pretty good. He's got 160 total yards already, 19 targets in his first 2 games. That's a good sign. And the same
Kyle Pitts.
Oh, you just took the words out of my mouth. In the same regards, Kyle Pitts owners who jumped way up to grab him. He's got 4 catches and 38 yards in 2 games. Worried or not worried? What's going on? This guy's another Evan Ingram? Another fucking 4-4 tight end that doesn't pan out?
No, I don't think that in that aspect. I think that what I've seen him do on the field and the way he looks on the field, he definitely looks different than Ingram did. Ingram just looked like a wide receiver out there. Kyle Pitts looks like an AJ Brown, like one of those like
he looks
big
better
boys.
Yeah.
Kyle Pitts will eventually get his. He's going to get his. Like, I think the first 2 weeks, maybe the gameplay has been a little different. And also, you got to remember, is every time a new quarterback comes in, it's who they look to. Maybe Matt Ryan looked to Kyle Pitts more last year, even though Drake London wasn't on the team. But still, Mariota's their quarterback.
Yeah.
Maybe
I like Mariota a little bit.
Drake London more, instead of it's just.
They got a big game coming up. Atlanta's 0-2. They're one of the 0-2 teams. That's a big game. Tennessee's 0-2. The Colts are 0-1-1. They don't have a win yet. You got some big name teams that don't have a win yet. And somebody's going to turn it totally around. Between the Bengals, the Raiders, the Titans, the Colts, those are four
Are
teams
those are
with
those the
names.
are those the winless teams right now?
Those are four of the winless teams. The other three are the Panthers, the Texans, and the Falcons. So four of
those
them.
three aren't. I don't see either of those three doing anything. And then
Wow.
who are the other four? The Colts, the Raiders.
The four teams of note that we expect to be there are the Bengals, the Raiders, the Titans, and the Colts. Those are the four big ones that don't have a win yet.
Ask you something, Johnny. Out of those four teams, who do you think would be the most likely to turn it around?
Me personally, I think the Raiders. I think the Raiders are gonna get it together. I think McDaniel just had his first two games. They blew one. They're 0-2, but I think they have the most talent. I think Carr's still a good quarterback, and I think they're gonna reel it in, and they just can't fall too far behind back in that division because somebody might get real hot. They're playing each other. The Chargers, the Chiefs, the Broncos. That's a lot of playing each other. That's a tough division.
I agree in the aspect that the team I think that could turn it around would be the Raiders because one, I am a Derek Carr believer. I think he's got a chip on his shoulder. I think that when it comes down to it, I think he kind of got screwed last year that he got hurt and wasn't able to play in their playoff game. I think he's got his whole.
Right. What happened? What happened to him last year?
I forget what the injury
was.
Was.
Out of the game?
No, the week before he got hurt and then wasn't able to play for their playoff. Remember?
Wow. You see, nobody remembers who lost. Look how fast I forgot that. You always remember the team that won. I remember going back sometimes thinking about a Super Bowl or a World Series, and I know who won, but I'm like, who the hell did they play? You don't remember the team that falls short.
Yeah, well, the Raiders, and I would have to agree with you too there that I think that the Raiders are definitely what team are you out of those four teams are you most worried about that you don't think?
I'm worried about the Colts because we saw them collapse last year with Mr. I sprained both ankles on one play, Carson Wentz. But now Matty Ice back there, just from the optics, the first two games, he looks like a very just like a statuesque, I don't know. But you know what? I said that about Flacco 2 weeks ago, and he looked good. Not great, but he looked different. So maybe they just didn't get it clicking yet. But I'm worried about the Colts.
Ryan throw a couple balls last week, and I was like, whoa, he looked like, and he looked like a guy that on his way out. But I don't know. He didn't really look like that last year, though. So there must be something in the water in the Colts quarterback.
We got to remember, too, everybody who's 39, 40 doesn't stay on that fountain of youth tip. There's if a guy gets old in his 30s and falls off, it's possible. We're so used to guys keeping themselves up that we're shocked when a 38-year-old starts to stink because you see a guy like Brady, maybe he's fallen off a little bit. He doesn't look too good to me.
Here's a team that I want you to talk about that has an older quarterback that maybe the quarterback might be falling off or not. Is I want you to talk about the Denver Broncos a little bit. Now that's a team where they went out, they thought they were a quarterback away, just like the Colts. Yeah. They're having a little bit of the same problems. Yeah, that they did get their win or whatever. They're not winless, right. But they're a team that I'm still maybe putting in the worried category.
I'm worried about Denver because every time I see John Elway smile, I remember to waterproof my deck with those fucking horse teeth. All right, but that's besides the point. Denver, I got Javonte Williams and Gordon. They had the fucking ball at the 1 yard line against Houston, who they almost blew the game to, and they had Russ cooking from the shotgun on the one, and he threw the ball 3 times. When you got Javonte Williams, a guy whose fucking thighs are wider than my sternum, you got to hand him the fucking ball. Denver, look at the division: Chargers, Chiefs, Raiders, Denver. What does Denver have the best of in that division? The quarterback? No. The receivers? No. The fucking running backs. They got the 2 best running backs. They got to be like Elway's Denver team when Elway won the Super Bowl. John Elway was the best quarterback, could never win. He couldn't get off the schneid. He was in the Dan Marino category until he was 37. Then they got Terrell Davis, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, they won a Super Bowl when they were rocking with Terrell Davis, but it was not until they ran and got that balance they won. I think Denver's got to be a running team and then get that balance. Not all this cooking shit, cooking. Who the fuck do they think this little fat fuck is? This Russ Wilson.
I agree.
I'm getting my blood pressure up thinking about this Russ Cook shit. Enough of this shit.
That's a team that I'm definitely somewhat in the worried category. Now, here's another that we touched on a little bit that I want to hear your feels on, that have another sort of older quarterback, and that we know things are declining or it's the pieces around him, is the Packers and Aaron Rodgers.
Oh man, how many times can they just have, like, I've seen Green Bay have like the most injuries in the whole NFL and go on an 8-game winning streak while they were the most injured team. And like maybe a couple years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I don't remember exactly. I've seen Green Bay lose guys and always do it. When is Rodgers, is he that good that he's just going to overcome all this again and they're going to kind of piece it together and win the division, or is this going to be one of these times? Like, think about this. Like, here's the only difference. I love Eli, and I say he's a Hall of Famer. And you see like a guy like Burrow, who's got that moxie, but already it looks like he's having rough times. You never see Aaron Rodgers or Brady go through a rough season, like a stinker. And the next year, like Eli got his ring, then he had a fucking stinker, but he had his ring because we knew he was going to come back. Some good quarterbacks that have a high rep, they have stinker seasons and come back. I even saw Phillip Rivers have a stinker season. You don't see that with Rodgers or Brady. Like, do you think maybe that like one of them could have a stinker season this year? Or Rodgers particularly?
Well, that's what I'm asking.
I
think
it's going to be Rodgers will have a stinker before Brady, because Brady does have the weapons and the team. I don't see the weapons. I don't know about Lazard. I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm trying to point towards is, what do you think of the Green Bay team that with Rodgers and them? Do you think that there's a team that, because they're 1-1 right now?
Yeah. I like Aaron Jones.
There's a lot different conversations that we will be having on Monday if the Packers are 2-1 or 1-2.
Well, it's the same answer as Denver. They got the 2 best running backs in their division. Minnesota would be my pick to win the division. However, Aaron Jones looked electric the other night. I happened to be watching that Sunday Night Football game. I have AJ Dillon, so I was like rooting for AJ. AJ Dillon out-carried him again, but Aaron Jones looked electric. So we know AJ Dillon's coming out as a top back. Aaron Jones reaffirmed that he's a top back. They're probably going to be a more balanced team. I don't think they can just shoot all over the place.
I think that Green Bay is going to find an identity where they run the rock, sort of like, supposedly their defense got better.
Right.
Over the offseason.
They did.
Supposedly their defense got better.
They did.
That they're going to turn into, from going from shootouts with Aaron Rodgers to Devontae Adams and Cobb and all those guys, Jordy Nelson, and them having all those fire burner shootouts, to now being more of a let's run the rock. Rodgers only throws the ball 20, 25 times, but he hits his on the play actions.
That's why I'm afraid. I'm afraid of these games. I'm looking down the board of these games like you just don't know. Like the Eagles, they look so good. They're a 3-point road favorite at Washington. You don't think Dorito fucking Wentz can do it, but then like Washington will end up beating the Eagles. Like those divisional games are tricky. Like the Eagles are a team that will probably ruin people's knockout pools this week. Like how good they just looked. Like they're playing Wentz. We saw Wentz give Detroit a game. We saw he's leading the league in passing. That Washington-Philly game could be a trap. There's a lot of trap games set all over. When we do our pick'em show, we're going to talk about all these trap games. That's touching it.
That's funny because out of everything that's happened in the first 2 weeks, I would probably make Philly even like what everyone's seen, like a 4 or 5 point favorite over Washington. And that's that Vegas is even putting the Eagles only at 3 points, because that's Vegas saying that they're not all in on the Eagles. Because if the Bills, because people want to put
look at the Chiefs.
The Bills, people want to put the Bills and the Eagles in the Super Bowl already. But if the Bills were to Washington, they'd be a 10-point favorite.
Hey,
but
good
the Eagles are only
example.
favorite. The Chiefs would be a 10-point favorite. So that's Vegas telling you, let's pump the brakes a little.
To support your example, listen to how much they believe in the Bills. The Miami Dolphins are hot. They're one of the best young upstart teams in the NFL, and they're home. The Bills are a 5-point road favorite at Miami.
See,
your point exactly.
That's what I mean. Now that's Vegas. See, that's what Vegas gives you signs. If you really look at the board, they give you signs because Vegas always knows.
Vegas is co-signed on right now as far as way going far. Like Kansas City, they're at the Colts this week. Guess what the line is? The Colts are supposed to be a fucking Super Bowl contender, right? 2 weeks ago, KC's a 6-point road favorite at the Colts.
See, like that's and now think about those. But see, that's the difference. That's Vegas telling us that the Bills and the Chiefs are Super Bowl contenders. Those are Super Bowl contenders. The Colts are in a must-win game for their season, basically, right now. Must win, going against the Chiefs, and the Colts are home. The Chiefs are a 6-point favorite. After what the Miami Dolphins have done, right? The Bills going there are that favorite. Yeah. The Eagles put on a very reputable first 2 weeks and done what they've done. They're playing the 0-2 floppy Commanders, and they're only a 3-point favorite. I would expect the Eagles to be a 7-8-point favorite going into Washington if Vegas believed in them. But
that could be a trap game.
That's them saying that's Vegas saying, "Whoa, let's pump the brakes a little on the Eagles here. Let's put them where they are," and that's what they're saying.
Yeah. Hey, you know who Vegas still does not believe in at all? And the Detroit Lions are at Minnesota. They're plus 7.5. That's the Lions look pretty decent. They look like they can kind of like hang with anybody. Like that's a lot of fucking points, man. And the Vikings just got their doors blown off. Like the Lions are 7.5.
I mean, you want to know something? That could even be Vegas telling that they believe in the Vikings.
This is going to be when we do our pick'em show. We got a lot of crazy games that are tricky. Me and my cousins, the first week, 2 of us went like 5-11. The other guy went 6-10 against the spreads. It's been hard. Like the season's got no form, no identity yet. It's hard. A lot of shit going on.
I know.
Now I got this timer here on the Zoom. It says that I have 2 minutes left. So when I cut us off, I'll see if it's timing me at 30 minutes or 40 minutes because it's saying 2 minutes left. So I'm going to wrap us up now on our little skit.
You could so our skit, is this going to be in the whole video, or are you going to edit this?
This is going to be our whole video about our NFL talk, and then we'll do a straight pick'ems down the line whenever we have a chance.
But this conversation we're having right now is going to be edited out.
This conversation, after I stop recording it, then I'll download it and I'll title it and post it. I'll put it on YouTube. Exactly how it is.
Okay, so even with this conversation at the end of it.
Yeah. People, my friends, everybody, like they eat this shit up. Like people like normal dialogue. Like that's the thing that I'm starting to get on here. You don't always have to be. It's not like we're on. Like we're performing. Like people like normal, like real talk, and like that's why people aren't going to the radio anymore, because you're hearing guys just talk stupid shit just to fill air. Babbling Bart Scott in the morning when I'm driving on the radio. He's always saying some stupid shit. He said that Tom Brady deserved to get punched in the face because he was mouthing off Lattimore. Like, that's just babbling Bart Scott babbling. Nobody wants to hear that shit. They throw us on, listen to us for a half an hour, talk about the NFL on their way home from work, and it's like fucking, you can't beat it. You know what I'm saying?
It's better.
So I got less than a minute here, so I'm going to wrap this up. This is our little football peek ahead into week 3. And then we'll do our pick'em show in a little while. So I'll talk to you in a little bit. All right, kid?
All right, brother. Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, Rye.
Later, man.
Later.